Hi! My name is Julia Luis Flores. I'm a student from Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Muntinlupa from BSIT 4B. So now, we will be talking about Kali Linux. What I have here is my VMware workstation. This is my final project in Information Assurance and Security 2. 3. Ethical hacking tools inside the Kali Linux. What I have here is my VMware workstation, and this is basically the Kali Linux. The first one I'm gonna talk about is the harvester. So, what is the harvester? The harvester is an open source tool. It's designed to gather information and reconnaissance. What does it collect? Email address, subdomains, virtual hosts, employee names, and many more from public sources. Basically, it's a digital detective that will search the whole internet for any information that is publicly available. So let's explore the harvester's capabilities. If you type the harvester-h and enter, this will show up. As I've said before, the harvester is used to gather open source intelligence on a company or a domain. So, this is the command display. It displays all the commands if you type in the harvester H, and it will show us all the available options that we can use to gather information, public information. These are the most important parameters that we can use, which is D, the domain, is the company or domain to search. If you want to use B, it's for source, like Baidu, Bing, Brave. See here. These are all the available sources that we can use. Even Yahoo is here, Rocket Search, GitHub code is also here, DuckDuckGo. I've mentioned all of the sources I'm familiar with. And then we also have L. It's to limit. Because if you type in, for example, B, it will list all of the available information. There's just too many. But if you put in the limit to limit the number of search results, it'll be much more organized and easier to navigate through. And then F, file name, to save the results to an XML or JSON file. Now, let's do a basic search. The harvester-d domain, example.com-b, which is the source, and then enter. If you've noticed, there's a lot that is missing an API. But that is normal though. That is normal. Because I've searched all. I've used the term all. Which brings us to the important point. The harvester, it uses and it works with lots of different search engines and services. And those search engines, it uses API keys for better results. When we use the all parameter, it will attempt to use every available source but without the API keys, which is missing. And some sources won't work without the API keys. To stop the current search, just press Ctrl C. Okay, now we've loaded a lot. There's too much. See all of the missing API keys. It will not be loaded from the source because it's missing API keys. And now we will talk about the API keys that the sources use. What is an API key? API key is a unique identifier used to authenticate a project or application when it makes a request to an API, like a password for a program. For example, me as a student, I have used API Ninja because we've used it for school. I have my own API key from that website. It's only specific for me, for my account. I'm the only one that can use that API key. It's like special passwords. So now, how do we use a specific search, a specific command? How do we use a specific information gathering that's only focused on one domain or one source. This command is much more efficient because it will tell the harvester that I want example.com only from Bing. Okay, Control C to stop the search. Okay, now we've stopped the search. It only searched in Bing. No IPs found because it only searched Bing. We've limited where the harvester looked for the example.com. Basically, that's how you use it. And once again, how to manage and save information gathering. We use the command -f. So now that we've found this, I want to save it. I'll type in the harvester -t example.com -b and then Bing and then -example results. Control C. It will attempt to create two files, which is example results.xml and example results.json. I've stopped the saving, but that's basically how you use it. Why is information gathering critical? Because like the attacker risk, we have that. Every piece of information found online is a potential entry point. For example, emails for phishing, subdomains with vulnerabilities. The defenders, which is us, we must regularly use tools like the harvester to understand their publicly available attack surface. With this, we can understand how they get the information and how to stop them from getting that information. One of the best practices we can do is to regularly scan, remove, and protect the sensitive data, use email protection like two-factor authentication on Google, and many more. Thank you so much. That is my first part of of my presentation, which is the harvester. Let's move on to the second ethical hacking tool. Hi. It's me again, and this is the second ethical hacking tool that we will be talking about. First, let me log in. We've talked about the harvester. Now, we're gonna talk about Nmap. Ta-da! What is Nmap? Nmap is short for Network Mapper. It's a network reconnaissance tool. What does it do? It scans an entire network, find the devices that are connected to that network, even detect the operating system, which is the OS that is connected to that network, and find open ports, and even find vulnerabilities. So Nmap, it comes pre-installed on Kali Linux. If you install Kali Linux, it's already here. You don't have to install another extra thingies, it's already there. It comes with a package. As I've said before, you can also find vulnerabilities that can be used negatively or positively. But we are going to be using this for ethical and educational purposes only. We will not exploit any vulnerable networks. Please, we are not here to do that. So now, our first task is to start by finding which devices or hosts are currently connected to the network. For this, the command that we will type in will start with is nmap space switch -s. The S stands for scan and then P stands for ping. We are going to scan the networks. And now we will type in the IP address and just hit enter. It's done. Bro, it was so fast. Anyway, one IP address, one host up. It's because the only devices that are connected to this network is my PC. And then it shows here that only one host is up. It's my PC. That's it. That's the only one that's up. We're going up. It's our oh my god, so cringe. I'm sorry. It's scanned in 0.14 seconds. It indicates that I have one active device that is currently connected to the network I'm on. And the local IP addresses of these devices, it's only one. But supposedly, if you have more, it'll display like a lot more. So basically, that's how you can discover all of the connected devices or the hosts that you can discover that is connected to a network using Nmap. But we're not hackers. I'm not gonna dive in too much with that. But that's basically how you do it. Nmap also has stealth mode, so you will not be detected. Because like using Nmap and infiltrating other networks, the firewall will detect you. Nmap has a setting that you can use for stealth mode, so you will not be detected by firewall. You can also scan for the OS of the device that is connected to the network. Think about it. I think it's so cool because like even even the operating system. It's so cool. For me, it's cool. For example, if it's Android, if it's a phone, what kind of PC is it? Kind of computer? Nmap can also do that. Basically, what you have to type is sudo nmap -0 and then the IP address, blah, 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 blah. And then if you hit enter, it'll display the OS, the network distance, the open ports from that device. And as I've said before, Nmap also has scripts to find vulnerabilities that bad people use to exploit the network, to hack into the network. Okay, for the last bit of this, why is it important for us to know how Nmap works and how it can protect us from hackers? Basically, it's a very valuable knowledge for us because it's a widely used tool for network discovery and security. And understanding how it works, it gives us the knowledge on how our own network's vulnerabilities can be exploited, in which we can take the first step to defend our network so it won't be exploited. So we can understand how what the attacker's perspective is. Basically, what he can see, which is the hosts, the OS, which ports are open, and stuff like that. By identifying those, we can reduce the attacks. And then, from then on, we can implement detection and defense mechanism on our devices and on our network so it won't be exploited. Thank you very much. That was it for the second ethical hacking tool. Let's move on to, last but not least, the third ethical hacking tool. Hi! This is the last ethical hacking tool that I will be talking about with you guys. This one, I am really interested in it. Just like the Nmap. Actually, the whole Kali Linux, I'm very interested in it. I'm very passionate about how to use it and to learn more about it. So the third ethical hacking tool is Netcat. Once again, these are the available commands that we can use. It's very straightforward using Kali Linux. It even has a warning for you to know that it's very dangerous to use. What is Netcat? So basically, Netcat is a simple networking utility. It can create almost any kind of TCP or UDP connection. So what is TCP and UDP? TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol, and UDP stands for User Datagram Protocol. These are the two main protocols that facilitate the data transfer over the internet. They're the ones that handles the data that we send and receive over the internet. The Netcat, it's often called Swiss Army knife because it can basically be used for everything, from simple port scanning the ports, to setting up a basic communication channel. You can use that to communicate without using any communication application. See here, we have the receiver, the gateway for the communication channel. This is basically a computer talking to another computer without any communication application, which is cool. Basically, what you need to do to use Netcat to talk to other device or computer, what you will need to do is to input your IP address and input the other computer's IP address. You can also use Nmap for this. Basically, you can search for the other computer's IP address, and that's how you use it. And then with Netcat, you can input the other computer's IP address and your IP address, and then bam, they will be communicating with each other. So basically, with Netcat, you can also push, pull files. You can make backdoors. You can make relays. You can do a lot of stuff with Netcat. But for now, we're just gonna talk about the basics. So now, what we're gonna do is, this is basically the fastest way to check if a specific port is open in our device and if it's reachable on a remote host, which is much more detailed than a simple ping. Although ping is much more used nowadays. But basically, what we need to do, the command is, the V is verbose, used twice to be more verbose, and then Z is 0 IO mode. It is used for scanning. We're gonna scan, we're gonna look for ports if that specific port is open and reachable. Once again, for example, we're gonna use Google. Is the port open? Is the web port 443 from google.com open? It said here that it's open. Now, what we're gonna try and do is setting up the listener, which is the server. One computer or one machine must always be in listen mode to wait for the connection. This will be our PC. So now what we're gonna do is NC my IP address refused. Now we're listening in on my IP address, my port. Listening on any 8080. That's it. So basically, it's now listening. Netcat basically turned my PC, my computer, into a temporary mini server waiting for an incoming connection. Basically, it will alert me if there's an incoming connection. Netcat claimed the specified port, which is the 8080. It tells my operating system that it basically said that I am the program that will handle all incoming data that is addressed to this specific port. It's now guarding it, you know. Basically, it acts like a receptionist waiting for the phone to ring on that specific line, which is the port, the 8080 port. To finish this presentation, we will now talk about how we can use Netcat to defend. Because basically, if you think about hacking, you'll automatically think about, oh, hackers are like this, they're like this, they exploit. But these tools can also be used to defend our systems, our networks, our computers from the hackers. Once again, as I've said before, with Nmap, we need to be thinking how the attacker would think. And Netcat, it helps us, the defenders, by providing us flexible ways to perform crucial security checks. By this, what I did, we're already checking the connection. We're making sure that our network is much more resilient against real-life threats. We can also use Netcat to reveal the network. We can use this to test our firewall rules. For example, I can set up my firewall to block port 8080. And then with that, I can use Netcat to check if my port 8080 is actually blocked, is actually protected. And with that, I can make arrangements. You know, I can fix that if it's not fully blocked. And while we're listening, it can detect intrusion while it's listening. Because like, if Netcat detects an intrusion, it will automatically alert us. It will automatically report to us that we have an attacker's IP address trying to exploit our network. As you can see here, it's calm. It's not doing anything. It means no attacker is actively trying to exploit or go inside my network, which is a good thing. And did you see here? Connection refused. My IP address refused, which is a good thing. And then once again, thank you so much for listening. I am Julia Luis Flores from BSIT4B, and this is my final project for presenting 3 ethical hacking tools used inside Kali Linux. Thank you very much.